I'm Andy Venables. I'm the CTO and co-founder here at POPX. So I've obviously been here since the since the very beginning, and I'm delighted to share with you what us and our team have created. All right, so moving swiftly on. So I love this quote. Let's get started. Right, it's the economy stupid. So for those that don't know, this was a really famous campaign slogan for Bill Clinton, right? And the whole point of it was there's always a core message in every single presidential campaign. And Bill's was quite simply, it's the economy, stupid, to refer to, look, it really is all about the economy. And our take on this, or my take on this is, it's the customer experience, stupid, right? It is always about the customer experience, right? For many MSPs, it's a bit of a buyer's market, shall we say, where your customers have a wide range of choice of suppliers, have a wide range of different companies that they could come to and receive services. And so the customer experience is such a pivotal part of what we do. And I think the portal is really the forefront, the torchbearer, if you will, of that customer experience. It could be the day-to-day touch point for many of your customers. It's the opportunities to drive self-service. It's how they log a ticket. It's how they get updates on a ticket. It's how they start new services and so forth. So it really is one of those key central themes of how you will structure your customer experience. All right, and so just as Bill recognised, I think this needs to be updated for it is 2024 now, and so what I think is a key trend that we all have to be aware of in our lives is that in our personal lives we're having these great experiences with Uber, Just Eat, Amazon, and all the other apps that we have on our phone, and I think your customers will be fully aware of that. And then this funny thing that happens that in the B2C world where they're having these great experiences, they're then arriving at work and they're talking to you, a service provider, in a B2B context, but they're still expecting those great experiences, right? And so they're still expecting an experience like Uber or Just Eat or Amazon, where it just works. It's self-service. I can get any information, whether I'm on the sofa, on a sun lounger, or wherever I am in the world, the information is at my fingertips. And so I think it's now incumbent on technology service providers in particular to live up to that experience, right? It's 2024, so why shouldn't we have a portal that's available anywhere in the world and any device, anytime with all services in it? I mean, let's just take an example. Could you imagine a situation where Amazon doesn't let you see the services that you've bought or have historically bought or are buying at the moment within a self-service app? It'd just be inconceivable, wouldn't it? That's like an absolute must table stake of a service. But many MSPs that we work with, or when we at least begin working with them, they might have a portal, but the portal is limited to a highly transactional ticket type flow. There's no, they've never bothered to put on the list of services that the customer takes. And so I think it's a real clear indication of where customers are going, what their expectations are. And as I say, I think it's incumbent on technology service providers now to live up to that. And why are customer portals important? Not just for that customer experience realm, but I think there's a really key driver here, which is automation, right? Maybe I should go back and do the Bill Clinton slide again and say it's all about the automation, right? And particularly with a powerful platform like ServiceNow, automation is one of the key goals. ServiceNow is phenomenally powerful at driving automations into every single business. And often that automation can start from the portal. If you think we can make a workflow that's really efficiently automated, but it still requires a customer to call in and speak to a human and tell them what they want. Well, that's great, but it still requires that bit of human interaction up front. If we can take that automation a step further and have it originate from the customer portal in a self-service environment, we can cut down both the cost to serve of that workflow, but also the customer's happiness. Most customers, believe it or not, prefer to get something immediately, that instant gratification, right, rather than having to go through a support desk or a service desk. Although there certainly still is a place for that. But why do we care about automation? Why do we want so much automation? Well, I think it's the path to efficiency, right? And if we can have workflows that will auto provision services or will automatically process change requests or will help solve major incidents or write custom apps in your business that can deliver business processes, all of that leads to efficiency. And we're not really suggesting here that automation is going to take over and everyone's going to be made redundant and so forth. What we see time and time again is that when the automation comes in, the efficiency is gained, it frees people up for higher value work. And I think that's definitely the way The brave new world of generative AI is going as well. It's not replacing people, it's just freeing them up to do higher value work, right? The number one product in the generative AI space at the moment is Copilot, right? It's your Copilot. It's not replacing you. It's sitting side by side and supercharging you, if you will, to make you work even harder. And so that efficiency, can be seen across the sort of OSS, BSS landscape at technology service providers, the ability to become more efficient, to do more with less, to drive automation. And of course, what does that lead to? That leads to lower cost, right? Lower cost for the MSP, and then lower cost for the customer themselves passed on. And in turn, yeah, that feeds back into the customer experience again, doesn't it? Part and parcel of that customer experiences is the price that I'm paying received for the value that I'm getting. And so automation, efficiency, lower cost all feeds into that life cycle. All right, so I'm going to hand over to my colleague Simon now. So Simon, take it away.
Cool, thank you very much. There we go. Cool, right, so yeah, we'll do a couple of demos and cover a couple of topics this morning. But just before we do, just want to just call out what we mean by the POPX Portal. So the POPX Portal is obviously our sort of portal product, but what is it actually? It's basically a sophisticated portal framework. I'd describe it as a mature portal framework, which is developed on top of the ServiceNow's service portal framework. So it's a portal framework that sits on top of the ServiceNow platform, basically. In that framework, we've got hundreds of ready-to-go reusable components that we describe as the portal as our sort of POPX portal library, and that allows us to facilitate things like for rapid development. So and the reason that's important to us is we want to reduce onboarding time. We want to get you guys to value as quickly as possible, so that the more seamless we can configure a portal for you, the better. We also have some enhanced capability for some core ServiceNow features, as well as some unique support for some ServiceNow features. The other thing to say is where the POPX portal leverages integrations very heavily. So most of our portal implementations use, dozens of integrations to different business applications, different vendors, and so on. And the portal often is the where all that comes together as somewhere for the customer to consume. Also, it's highly customizable. There aren't any real life limits as to what we can do or achieve in the UI, and it is multi-device supported through responsive design. So that's the POPX portal. And so today's topics, we're going to cover 4 topics today. We're going to take it in turns. I'm going to take the first one and the first item. So we're going to talk about case deflection and explore what we mean by that and how we try to achieve that. Then we'll cover AI and chat, and then a bit about self-service and automation, and then finally a bit of value add. So first of all, case deflection. So what do we mean by case deflection? Well, in my view, there's 2 fundamental things that we're trying to do with case deflection. So the first one is probably the more obvious use case, where you're trying to avoid creating some incidents. Obviously, the biggest reason for your customer to come to your support portal in the first place is to get some sort of support, right? So they want to raise a case. I need support with this, something's broken, I need you to set up something for me because I can't do it, some sort of request of that sort of form. And typically you want to avoid all the incidents, all the types of cases being created where there's some good guidance out there already, and they could self-serve, they could solve the problem themselves. It could be a really simplistic issue, which could be facilitated for a simple knowledge base. The other form of case deflection, probably less obvious, is where someone is submitting they're submitting a case, and perhaps they need something like a password reset, they need access to a system, or another common one in the MSP world is backups, backup restores, file restores, anything like that. And the typical journey is they come into the portal and they immediately go down the support route, and then they end up creating a very generic case in your support queue, which then has to be, validated, has to go through various checks, and then eventually it gets assigned to the right team for fulfillment. But it might be that in a lot of those cases, you already have some well-defined processes, and maybe even automated, ideally even fully automated processes for some of those types of requests. So, a backup restore, you might have some semi-automation behind that. A password reset, you might even have a full automation behind that. And in other words, as Andy has already alluded to, the key benefit of case deflection is saving precious resource, right? It's freeing up your resources to do more valuable things. So I'll come up with two problem statements around case creation. So the problem statement is basically the difference of the persona. So as the MSP, the service provider, what they want is a complete and accurate and detailed case form assigned to the right team. I.e., they want perfect metadata. They want the form filled out perfectly. They want to know everything up front, and they want it to go to the right team straight away. And why? Because it's efficient, right? They don't want to waste time doing things they don't want to do. And what does the customer want? Well, the customer just wants a text box. They want a Google homepage, right? They just want to put it in and then get the answer or get it fixed straight away, kind of thing. Or or actually they want to speak to someone, pick up the phone, which you probably want to avoid. Or in reality, they actually want a mind reader. So one of the ways that we've been approaching, the case deflection and approach case deflection and try to tackle those problem statements and tackle those two key areas of case deflection is using decision trees. Now, decision trees are a ServiceNow platform capability. Basically, what they allow you to do is design these user journeys where you take some input, which is obviously asking some questions, and then from those questions, you then derive the next path to go down. And you can build out these quite comprehensive guidance trees and take the user on a journey. And using the decision tree, you can then guide them to the right place in the portal, or you can raise the right case by asking the right structured questions. Or you could, if they're using the wrong tree, you can redirect them and take them to use a different tree. So ServiceNow's decision trees. So we've supported decision trees for the last couple of years. ServiceNow does now support decision trees natively in the portal. But POPX does have some unique support for ServiceNow decision trees, and we've built quite a few custom guidances, which I will now show you. Cool. Okay, so I am logged in. Hang on, let me just hide this bit. Hide the floating panels. There you go. This is our demo portal. It's Acme branded, if you remember the Roadrunner. And I'm logged in as a test customer. And a typical implementation of a customer portal would have kind of two routes to getting things done in terms of case. So you might have a case form which would look something like this. So this is quite a typical kind of case form where you go through, you report that, you try and self-categorize it, you try and say what service it relates to, request info, request a change, and you fill this all out and you put your site details and so on. And that's kind of like the generic case journey. The other side of the coin is the request catalog. So if I was to come down into our sort of products and services and our service catalog, I'll select connectivity, for example. This is quite a typical layout for what would be your request catalog. So they could come here and they could request an IP reservation, or if I go back and I might go into voice, I might want to set up a DDI divert or whatever it might be, right? But then also you've obviously got the search. So you normally have some sort of global search, which has searches across the board and tries to get to the right place. But the reality is it's quite hard to get all that right, and sometimes the search doesn't pull up the right results, because the way that the customer thinks about that particular service is different to how you've categorized it or the way you've thought about it. So we've been approaching this problem with decision trees. So on my screen here, this bit here isn't the decision tree. This is actually just like a launcher for different decision trees. We've, for the purposes of our demo portal, we've pretended that we serve, that we offer out telephony, mobile services, IT services, data center services, connectivity, and then the last tab is all about billing. So the way the decision trees sort of look in the back end is something like this, and this is an interface that you can actually, our customers can configure, or will be able to configure in the next quarter, and design their own decision trees. And the basics of it. So if I come in and I'm a customer and I've got a connectivity issue, I would click on the connectivity tab. First question I'm getting asked is there an issue with my connection? I'm going to say yes. Are you experiencing slow or loss of connection? I'm going to say it's slow. And this is where we start to do some guidance. So what's actually happening here is I've launched into the tree, and it's taking me down this journey, and it's saying I've said I've got a slow connection, and then it's basically throwing in some knowledge articles. So we've hooked up some knowledge articles that helps to try and deflect that case. So I could read through this article and I could say, did you try moving the laptop? I'm going to say, no, that didn't help. Did you try restart? Oh yeah, I did. I restarted the router, and yes, that resolved the issue. And there, and I've actually self-served there. I've resolved the issue for myself by following the guidance. Now, and what's nice here about these decision trees is whenever we deflect that case, we record it. We actually record them as deflected as actual cases, and they're recorded as sort of auto-closed cases, but they are therefore very reportable. So you can report on, your deflection rates, and you can record metrics, number of cases resolved per service, per category, all sorts of different ways you could sort of, report on how efficiently you are deflecting cases. But the other way to think about using these decision trees is also getting the customer to the right form in the first place. So the customer might come in here and they'll go, oh yeah, I need to set up a divert. So they'll come in here, follow guidance. They could go down a sort of support route because there's an issue. But I see that this decision tree has loaded some common requests. So what I need to do is set up a divert. And now what this will do is it will load in the correct form. So we can use decision trees and guided questions to get the customer to use the right form in the first place. And another quick example, if I was to go back down to connectivity, and now I haven't got an issue with my connection, but I do need something changed. I need to make changes to our VPN. And this is basically providing me a filtered list of our catalog. So it lets me pick the right form and then submit the form and trigger the right automated process. So this is all very good, but then the mantra really is that the customer wants just a single text box. And to that note, we have been doing some work which isn't production ready. Will be ready in the next quarter, where we are starting to introduce AI as one of the guidance steps in that decision tree. So this is sort of more of a proof of concept than a sort of ready to go demo. But in this example, I'm starting with rather than asking select type questions, I'm going to ask the customer just to stick in describe what the issue is. And for the purpose of this example, I'm going to say my customer can't access the customer. And hopefully, so what's happened there is we've actually used OpenAI and the OpenAI language model to take some input from the customer, and from that input ascertain which path to go down. So this is suddenly bridging that gap between the sort of structured way of getting the customer to the right form and a structured way of recording case deflection, and bringing in that sort of natural language understanding. And so the OpenAI has correctly identified the type of request or the type of issue the customer is reporting and asking me to confirm, yes, do you need help diagnosing a contacts portal access? I'm going to say yes. and it's going to ask for the email address, which I'll put in. And then finally, the last part of the work that we're doing in the decision trees is the ability to actually inject some functionality. So this little bit here is actually doing a live check on the contact database, and is providing some info to that customer on why that customer can't access the portal. So in this kind, obviously it's discovered that the customer has been invited, but they haven't actually registered for the portal, and that's why they can't log in. They haven't even set a password, is basically what it's saying. And then I could say, yes, that helped, and that would record a deflected case. So that's a little insight into what we're doing in the world of decision trees and how they're helpful. Andy, if I pass back to yourself for AI and chat.
Thank you, Simon. So really great to see case deflection and automation in action there. Sorry, Simon, I'm unable to share because you're currently sharing.
Hang on. Well, I think you can overtake it, can't you?
No, it's not letting me. I know Zoom used to let me do that, but not letting me today. Like all good rehearsals, eh? There we go. Thank you very much. All right. So, yeah, I'm going to pick up the baton just from where Simon left off there, and obviously I'm going to talk about the wonderful world of AI. Right? No demo, and certainly no webinar would be complete if we didn't spend at least some time talking about artificial intelligence and the way large language models and generative AI are obviously sweeping the industry. So what I really like about ServiceNow is, first of all, they've been in this game a while. So it's not just that, generative AI is a new thing. ServiceNow has had AI and machine learning for years, literally years. And so AI and machine learning techniques have been ingrained in the platform. And so we've been using it with our customers to help accelerate outcomes and drive efficiencies into their business. For example, one particular model that's my favorite, Task Intelligence, has been around for a number of years now. And it does something really simple, right? All it does is it learns from the existing tickets in the system, and it sets fields on the form, and it can do this to turbocharge the internal agents or customers on the portal or whatnot. And it's just a really simple use case that's able to turbocharge the experience and drive efficiency. But of course, generative AI is sweeping the tech industry, and ServiceNow is right on the forefront of that, and has got some great features as well. But I think it's really important to always look at the whole context and look at the real key bits of value that customers can realize. So the way that AI really surfaces from the customer portal perspective is primarily through the chat interface, right? So customers can log on and interact with a chatbot, and indeed they can be handed off to an agent. So generally, for most of our customers, the experience does start with a chatbot, but the customer can at any point say, oh, I'd like to speak to someone, or can you hand me off to an agent? And our customers can line up agents, maybe they're working shifts, so people get nominated for different parts of the day, and they can be handed off. Now, many of our customers think this is a great synergy, a great hybrid way to have some of the power of AI, but also have that personal touch as well. Obviously, we know to many, particularly smaller MSPs, it's really important to maintain that personal connection with the customers, as often that's the main reason why they probably purchase from that particular MSP, etc. I'll come on and show a bit that in a minute. So when the customer is having that interaction with the chatbot, it's essentially a natural language understanding and processing exchange. So the customer is able to type in their natural language, help, I have an issue, right? That's a very natural language way of describing what the issue is. And ServiceNow, the chatbot, is able to understand the intent and process that and match it to an action, right? So help, I need an issue, becomes, well, I need to direct this customer to log a new incident or log a new ticket because they have an issue, right? So and that's the beauty of many of the power of AI these days, right? Is it understands the context in which the user or the person is speaking from. But really, if we think about that, it's just another channel for customers to be served efficiently, right? So customers can still call up, customers may still be able to send an email in, they might still be able to submit a web form of an issue, or they can go via the chatbot, right? for almost all of our customers, what we find best is they want to add an additional channel. They rarely want to take away a channel and force customers down the AI route. And many of customers, depending on their age or what industry they're in, might prefer that channel to some of the other channels available. So it's just giving that additional option to customers. And of course, last not least, that generative AI and LM support is being layered into absolutely everything ServiceNow does. So ServiceNow has, again, a real focus on achievable ROI. I think they're actually being seen as one of the leaders in the tech industry at the moment about, not just throwing loads of money at generative AI, as many of the big names like Google and Facebook are, but actually concentrating on real demonstrable things that derive benefit for their customers and their customers' customers, right? And so, whilst a lot of money is being deployed on this investment, etc., I think it's seeing payback already. And then, so just to double click on that, some of the ways that we see that coming to fruition is supercharging that chatbot experience. So that chatbot experience that's already in a natural language understanding processing for many years now is now being supercharged by the addition of large language support. We've got AI search as well. So gone are the days where we're just looking for basic search terms that a customer entered into an index, right? We've now got AI search, adding another layer, adding a bit of clustering, adding that natural language understanding. Well, the customer's not mentioned the word issue, but clearly what they're searching for is a particular type of issue. And so inferring context to what the customer's searching for. We've got that dynamic translation now, right? So do you remember when back in the old days where we have to enter everything into a translation website, copy and paste it back out and put it into a portal to translate? Simon remembers this very well. Well, not anymore. Now we can use the power of LLMs to do dynamic translation. So any text entered in any language can be immediately translated into another language, really seamlessly and with a high level of accuracy. In addition to that, we've got ticket and chat summarization, right? So some tickets, in the world of ITSM can go on for a very long time, right? It's not impossible that you can have a complex issue that could span weeks or months. And then for both the customer sitting on the portal, maybe they're picking it up from a colleague who's gone away on holiday or it's been handed off to them. Do they want to read through all those notes? Well, maybe they do, but it's also nice to have a summation of that ticket available to them. And the same applies for the internal agents as well. If they can very quickly pick up a ticket, maybe on a follow the sun type support model, getting a summarization can really turbocharge their efforts. And, it could take a 5 or a 10-minute job to get up to a speed on a ticket. Could happen in under a minute, right, with a really clear summarization, all powered by the large language models. And then next up, we have my favorite, right? Knowledge generation. So I think we all know, or we all have at least an understanding that knowledge bases can really power the world of ITSM, right? If we can get that knowledge into the system and made available to customers, not only can they self-serve, but agents can also potentially resolve tickets a lot faster by looking at patterns where this has happened before and this is the workaround or this is the resolution. But of course, everyone's too busy to generate knowledge articles, right? But if we can have the AI write the base knowledge article for us, and then it becomes the job of the agent just to sort of sanity check it and maybe tweak it, you can see that knowledge article that may have taken 15, 20 minutes to create, you can now turn them out in 1 or 2 minutes. So a really fantastic turbocharging of that experience. And so really that's what it becomes, right? It's that agent co-pilot. We're not replacing agents with the large language models, etc. Instead, we're turbocharging what they do, making them far more efficient, allowing them to work on higher value aspects of the job. And so, really, it's a co-pilot. And then on the back end of ServiceNow, Simon and his team, we have developer co-pilots as well. So those same co-pilots that are helping recommend knowledge articles, they're helping recommend code snippets and writing code for us and suggesting ways to solve a problem. So it's for me, it's a great time to be alive, right? We've got these real life agents assisting and empowering us to be even better. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to switch to a demonstration. So just to check everyone can see the demo portal. Great, thank you just for confirming that. So as we can see, we're on our Acme demonstration screen again, and I can open a chat window just to the side here. And now this is the primary interface with which I'm going to interface with the chatbot, okay? And it starts off as a chatbot, but I can very quickly request that be handed off to an agent. And so you can see straight away, and the chatbot's introducing itself, hi, I'm your virtual agent, let me know how I can help you today. And so straight away, it's asking me a very open question, what's your issue or request? Or perhaps, maybe if I don't know how to talk to a chatbot, it's showing me some suggestions as well that I can type. But I'm fairly comfortable using this. So I'm going to say, I need help with internet connectivity. Okay, so I need help with internet connectivity. So I'm going to put that into the chat window. And now the natural language is going to take over. It's going to understand the context and the understanding to which I'm asking. It's going to look up in the knowledge base and the self-service catalog items and everything that I have available. And it's come back with a hit, right? That is essentially a topic which it thinks I'm probably interested in. And so it's saying you'd like help with connectivity, big C, connectivity issues. Is that right? Yes, that's what I need that's what I need help with. Okay, so let me see if I can help you with your issues. I'm going to run through and ask you a few questions. Are you using this particular type of router? Ah, how did you know? That's exactly the type of router I've got. So I click yes. Okay, look at the status lights. What screen? So I can look around in the back of the cupboard and see what the status lights are. They're green flashing. Okay, oh, looks like the router is connecting, so I need to wait 5 minutes, switch it off. So the answer from the chatbot is to switch it off and turn it back on again. So I hope you get the idea. It's a little bit tongue in cheek, and it is a connectivity specific example. But if you think about if you translate to this your own use cases, what's the most common use case that you could use? If this has fixed my problem, so now I'm not having the problem anymore, it's fixed it. Great. I have just had a really positive experience. I had images, I had feedback all the way. I had a natural language conversation with a bot. My issue has ultimately been resolved in less than a minute, and no one at the service provider has had to do anything, right? So we've got some efficiency there. So we've effectively used a case deflection technique in there. So really powerful. Next, maybe I've got other tickets that I know to have open. So last time I raised a ticket, it wasn't quite the same experience, and so I had to open the old ticket. And so now I'm going to say, oh, I'm going to type in the box this time. Please, can I have a case update? And so again, I know I've got open cases. The platform knows that I've got some agents, some open cases. And like all good demos, I've gone down the wrong path here. So I've I've enabled the agent support, which means it's expecting an agent in the back end to take this on and interact with me. But of course, we've not got anyone online on this demo instance at the moment. So apologies. Like with all good prepared demos, you always get a little bump in the road. But what you should have seen was the AI responding to me with the status of my open cases, letting me know this case was open, and I could even then request a summarization of that open case. So I didn't even have to leave the chat window. I can just get a summarization, the latest update on that ticket, and so forth. Okay. At this point, I believe it's back to you, Simon.
Thank you, Andy. Cool. So the next topic for this morning, self-service and automation. So obviously we've covered self-service a little bit already today, but we'll sort of just explore that topic a little bit further. So how does self-service and automation come together in the context of the portal? I mean, this is quite a basic diagram, but it sort of just shows you how it hangs together. It's essentially, obviously, the POPX the portal is the interface for the customer, obviously, but we're leveraging integrations to your business applications and using ServiceNow workflows, the workflow engine ServiceNow. Obviously, ServiceNow's a very powerful workflow tool. We're using workflows to then drive some of those integrations and some of those automations, which then become then surface themselves in the portal itself. So we're going to look at three different examples of sort of self-service in the portal. The first one is, it sounds obvious, but self-service user management. You'd be surprised about how valuable this has actually been to some of our customers, or if not all of our customers, really. The basic problem here is that most MSPs will have a golden source of contact data, account users, your customers, basically. And that will usually be your CRM, because it's your sales tool. That's where you got most of the data. The difficulty, though, is if you're going to start onboarding customers onto your brand new portal, you've got to have some sense of confidence about the data in that CRM. So how accurate will that CRM data be? How many duplicates have you got? Can you be sure that it's up to date? How do you know that all of those contacts that you've got in that database are actually still working for that customer of yours? It's very hard to know that. And even your account managers and service delivery managers may not know all those answers, right? So usually the best thing to do is by sort of offloading that responsibility to your customer and appointing some trusted nominated customer admins within each of your customer accounts, and then getting them to, manage those contacts in your portal and keep that data up to date. And if we've got, if we've got an integration between the portal and your CRM or whatever other tools you might have for storing contact data, we can keep all of those systems up in sync, and ultimately it's the customer that's keeping your contact data up to date. And yeah, so that's actually and actually enriching that data as well. So providing more detail about users that contacts that you didn't know about. The other thing to just mention about user management is in our framework, we've got quite a few sort of ready to go flows. One of them that I've kind of pulled out here is the request access flow. So we've got quite a mature workflow around requesting access to the portal. Someone could be sticking their email address into the request access box, and we might want to run all sorts of rules around, should we give them access? If we do give them access, should we ask for approval from somebody at the customer? So a lot of these workflows are kind of actually just ready to go things in the POPX toolkit. And this is one that I would call out. A second example, sort of quote to order. So in the Acme demo in a second, I'll show you what this sort of looks like or could look like. But essentially, if we've got integrations with your CPQ or with your CRM, and we've got vendor API integration, you can deliver a sort of a pretty seamless automated quote to order experience where the customer is getting quotes for something, getting prices, they're happy with seeing that price on the screen, obviously building out that quote, and then going through committing, hitting some terms and conditions, committing, and then recreating those quote objects, those orders, contract lines, etc., in your business applications. And the last example would be automated request fulfillment. So a lot of the services you host and the products you sell will have some self-service API capability, i.e. you can already do stuff with, let's say it's a Cisco products, they've got lots of APIs you can integrate and do some self-serve on devices. So if you can bring some of that self-serve capability into your portal, you can fully or partially or even fully automate some of those services. So, and for a lot of our customers, we are achieving that with some of their requests. And so POPX already supports integrations for a growing number of common products that MSPs use today. So we've got, the POPX integrations libraries, something like 70 plus business applications that we support today. So let me take you through a few examples using my Gavin as login. So what does contact management look like in the POPX portal? Well, it looks something like this. So yeah, as I say, the golden source for contact data is quite typically CRM. In this context, I can add a user. So I've got a form for adding a brand new user. That would obviously sync, a new user added would then sync back to your CRM. Any changes to a user might sync back to a CRM. So here I've got Artemis Tickles. You have to excuse some of the silly naming. But I can send them a registration email. So that's now sent a portal registration email to Artemis Tickles. So that's now pending their registration. I can resend the invitation. And then the customer will go through that registration process where they've set up their password, optional PIN numbers, and so on. So I can know the details. We've got permission layers, assigning permissions, preferences, contact preferences, should they receive CSAT surveys. And this area is quite a popular feature, the ability to whitelist and blacklist sites or locations. So the idea here is, particularly in places like the hospitality sector and certain industries like that, is the customer admin will only want that user to be able to access data that relates to that specific site. So You know, in this context, I only want Artemis tickles to be able to see services that affect Huli Campus, or I only want them to raise cases for Huli Campus, and so on. So it gives that kind of level of granularity and control. And obviously archiving users, I actually don't have any archive users. So that's contact management. I'm going to go back to the home page, and we'll go through the a quote to order journey. So here on the home page, I've got a nice little widget, a nice little call to action. So I'll put in a postcode. I think it's the right postcode. I think that's I should say, I think that's a genuine postcode. Check coverage. Okay, great. I can see they've got coverage in my area, so I'm going to go move forward with that, and it's going to go into my form. So this by the way is this is what we call a catalog item in ServiceNow. It's basically a request form. This particular variant is a sort of stylized, a POPX stylized version of the catalog item. So it's sort of it's sort of an improved or an enhanced ServiceNow capability. So it's going to ask me what type of service I'm interested. So in this context, we've got we've got integrations for fiber, radio, and broadband services. I'm just going to go for fiber. It's going to be some information. I'm going to go for 100 over 100. Hit next. It's going to fetch me some products. Okay, what have I got here? I've got Acme Fiber, Virgin Media. I'm going to select Virgin Media. It's going to ask me to select routers. So MikroTik. I'll go for the Cisco one. And then at the bottom here, it's building up a quote summary. So this can be a combination of different sources. So it might be 100% CPQ. It could be, and typically is, prices from vendor plus prices from you. So you as the MSP, you might sell the router separately, but the actual core the core service, you need that price from the customer. So we're combining we're combining costs from different sources to build up a quote. What would I like to do with this quote? I don't want to bother with IP range, but do I want to save or proceed? I'll proceed with that quote. Hit next. Quote summary. Obviously, it's going to be lorem ipsum for the terms and conditions in Acme world, but obviously that'll be your terms and conditions. Hit, which I'm going to accept, and then hit submit. And then that should submit my order, which now sits. So that's my order there at the top there, which I proceeded with. I will now just quickly flick to a backend view, because it's quite helpful to see what it looks, what a ServiceNow workflow looks like. This is actually one that I've triggered earlier today to save me digging around for the one I've just submitted. But it gives you an idea of how it flows in ServiceNow. So this is ServiceNow's Flow Designer tool, although they've relabeled it Workflow Studio. But essentially, you can sort of see the flow where the catalog items request, and in it comes, and we go through various steps as part of that kind of automation. So here's our integration with the CRM. We're creating the opportunity. Once it's got the opportunity, we're going to create the quote, and then for each line in that quote that we built up, we're going to create a quote line, and then we're going to, if they proceed with that quote, we confirm the opportunity. Often that would trigger a process in your CRM to then convert that into contract, etc., etc. So it just gives you a bit of a visualization of how that comes together in the workflow side of things. The last demo I'll do for self-service, it will be just if I go to the voice dashboard. So on this My Services menu, we've got a few different sort of dashboards for different types of service. Here I need to divert a number. I've got somebody who's about to go on leave, and I've forgotten to set up a divert, so I'm going to hit the DDI divert button. And okay, it's going to find me some trunks. And the source of these trunks are usually from a NOC, or maybe it's from RCMDB. But I'm going to request for a new divert, so I'm going to search for a number. I think that's the one I want. So I've selected a number. We're checking for conflicts because we know about existing scheduled diverts. We know of either active diverts or other diverts that are about to be scheduled. I'm going to schedule it. I'm not going to schedule it immediately. I'll put it in the future. Maybe I'll say from Thursday to Monday. I'll just stick a random number on leave, hit submit. And that again, just like the order to the quote to order workflow, we'll go and create a request, it'll go and create a case, and I can now see that scheduled divert in there with a divert start, and I can cancel it if I want to. But in exactly the same manner, it will trigger a workflow. The workflow will drive integrations, and in theory can be a fully automated process. So, Andy, back to you.
Great stuff. Thank you, Simon. All right, I'm going to snatch the ball off you this time. I think it worked that time. And we're into the final furlong now. So I'm just going to do this final session, and then we'll hopefully have time for any questions. So get those questions ready. Right. So in this final section, I'm going to look at some of the value adds that POPX can bring. So, I mean, what's a value add in this context? Well, obviously, a big part of what we do is we leverage the ServiceNow platform, the ServiceNow best practice applications into a customer service environment, and then we build our Simon builds our really pretty portals on top of that. But also we see it as our ability to innovate as well, right? So we see patterns across the different MSPs that we work with. We see common challenges, and we look to provide solutions for those and innovate as much as we can. And so I'm going to start off with one of these, which is our monitoring pages, and I'll demo this in just a second. And the concept here is that many of our customers will be selling products to their customers, right? And many of those products might be supplied by a third party, or might have monitoring or other status pages that the third party provides that they can pass on. So in this example, we've actually got a Zerto dashboard, right, which is a product that many of our customers resell onto their customers. And usually, or before our customers work with us, what would happen is they would set their end customers up with a separate account on the Zerto platform. Okay, so the customer gets this really fractured experience of, I go to one portal for my help and support, I might go to another portal for billing, and then I log onto the Zerto portal for my little slice of the Zerto statistics. Well, we are firmly of the belief that a single portal with a single login is the way customers want to receive service. And so what we've done is just one example is we've recreated the Zerto homepage inside our portals for our customers or for our customers' customers. And so you can see a visualization of this on the left-hand side. So all of the key information that they can get from the Zerto portal is now embedded directly in the portal with the same look and feel, the same experience, etc. And so this is just one example of how we can not just be a portal for help and support, but how we can actually enhance the products and the offerings that you sell on to your customers and really add value to that whole product experience. And you must think this is probably quite a hard thing to do. Well, we work on this sort of 80-20 rule, right? Which is we can probably recreate the vast majority of what the customer is going to that portal for, reasonably quickly with not too much effort. And in particular, we often see patterns between our customers. So many of our customers resell Zerto, SolarWinds, or Cohesity. And so we're able to reuse that technology time and time again to accelerate that time of value. Now, obviously, what we're never going to be able to do is recreate every single feature that's in that portal. And so there's always a bit of a trade-off, but by having that single pane of glass, single login experience, it's really powerful to our customers. And so one of the things we're really looking forward to is we're looking to launch Logic Monitor in the same vein. So our customers will see statistics from Logic Monitor inside the portal within their tenancy. They won't even know that the statistics are coming from Logic Monitor. And the graphs will look really pretty and look the same as all the other pages. So, a really fantastic development that Simon and his team are working on for early next year. And then we've also got reporting as well. So one of the things that we know that MSPs do a lot of is both monthly service reporting or even quarterly service reporting, but also responding to customers' ad hoc need for various reports, right? So we've seen countless numbers of tickets coming into the service desk saying, please, can I have a report for this? Or show me all of my open tickets, right? In this day and age, that needs to be self-service, right? We can't have customers requesting and having data emailed backwards and forwards. Email, obviously, a famously insecure format. And so we've built pages inside the portal that not only allows customers to cut their own reports, shape their own data, download it to PDF or Excel, whatever they want, but also to receive the monthly service report that's often delivered by the service delivery managers inside that portal. They can still download it as PDF as well, but they can get the whole experience within the portal. And so I'm going to super quickly now just go in and demo that live because it always makes it look a bit bit better. So I'll just quickly show our connectivity page. So again, connectivity might not be an area of interest for all of our customers, but for those that do offer connectivity, we're able to integrate to those monitoring systems and show live statistics on how that connectivity is performing. So look, that's an interface that you might be selling to a customer. Customer can log in, they can see the traffic live. Again, that information isn't coming from our portal. We're going in and grabbing it from the source system and presenting it in a nice format. And we're happy to do this with any and all products that our customers have. And if we can reuse something we already have, that's great. I'll just show the example that was on the slide as well, that Zerto product and how that renders into the portal. Sorry, this is our demo system, by the way, which is why it's a little slow. The real platform isn't this slow. And you can see here, as I say, we've recreated that Zerto dashboard so customers can get all of that information in a really secure way. So they're only seeing their tenancy of Zerto in here, but they get the look and feel of the customer portal. And then last but not least, if I move on to reporting, so I've just got one eye on the time there as we're ticking away. As I bring up the reporting page, as you can see, customers are able to cut their own report. So they're able to say, right, I want to see all the open cases. I want to get a pie chart, and I can come into here. I can set all the different filters that I've got and build my own reports, right? So, you know, that putting that power in the fingertips of your customers to do that stuff self-service rather than raise a request, wait for an SLA turnaround, etc. Really powerful. And last but not least, the service reporting engine as well. So the representation of how customers can have a service report generated for them every month automatically, and then service delivery managers can come on and present the report to them. All right, so just moving on to the final throw now. I hope you've enjoyed what we've had to show. First and foremost, I'll probably invite any questions from any attendees today. So we've got a question from Kyle. Thanks, Kyle. So monitoring data integration in the portal looks really good. Powerful one-stop shop. Can you also run some of that data through ServiceNow to take action on alerts or exceptions? That's a great question. Thanks, Kyle. So yeah, absolutely, in short. And in fact, actually, that's often where we start with customers. So if I take the Logic Monitor as an example, the first stage would be we would integrate Logic Monitor into ServiceNow event management, and we would get all the alerts and all the events coming into the platform. Second stage might be that we would pull all of the data from Logic Monitor into the CMDB. And then third phase, we would probably look to layer in some AI, of course, right, and do some predictive analysis and intelligence on those alert comings in and begin to predict failures, right? If we have a particular device that's failing every Monday morning at 9 a.m., you know, ServiceNow can predict that it's going to happen again the next Monday, and it can flag it as more of a problem instead of a reactive issue. And then, yes, last but not least is our really exciting feature that we're launching next year, which is to then pull in those monitoring statistics into the portal. And what can we do from there? Well, the sky's the limit, really. We could start to look at some linear regression algorithms. So what do I mean by that? Well, if you're monitoring a disk space and the disk space is very slowly creeping up, linear regression is a really simple algorithm that will look at the trend of that and will try to predict and tell you when you're going to cross the 90% threshold. So instead of waiting for you to cross the 90% threshold, we're going to alert you that, look, this thing is going to go red in 56 days time. Do you want to act on it now rather than waiting for it to go red on the monitoring system? So becoming proactive. And then what you do with that information, well, maybe you could raise it at a service delivery review and say, look, our algorithm is saying that you're going to run out of disk space. Would you like to buy some more disk space? And then we're starting to turn that service review conversation not into a cost center, but into a revenue raiser as well. So thanks, Carl. Great question.
Andy, there's a couple of questions in the chat as well. One's around sort of branding options with the portals. You mentioned, obviously, Simon can make us pretty portals, but can customers, I guess, white label or brand them to match their requirements?
Yeah, absolutely. So the way that the framework is designed is that any portal you can sort of create a new configuration of that portal. So, and that's is exactly the way that we do white labeled portals, and it's quite a popular request for sort of platinum tier end customers, or resellers is another popular one. Now, obviously, resellers might want their own branding, but obviously the actual configuration, the feature set is your portal. But yeah, that's absolutely possible, and we do it today. Another example is sort of slightly more B2C, but you know, when the end customer is actually something like a university and they provide a service desk to students, for example, it's possible to extend the white labeling service to to produce like a university portal for a sort of more of a B2C community.
Awesome, thank you. And another one around sort of typical deployment timescales. Is there a sort of rough guide to give the guys to understand how long it takes us to get things live?
Well, it's obviously a hard question to answer without, you know, I mean, typically our onboarding time is sort of around about 3 months across the whole platform, but specifically to the portal, we sort of give our customers a baseline portal to work from, and then you choose how they want to adapt it from there. You know, and that onboarding time has been as little as a couple of weeks. So it really does depend on what you are aiming to launch with for as a sort of go to market day one MVP.
Perfect, thank you. And final one, if someone wasn't ready to change out their ITSM ticketing system, is that something that we could accommodate?
Yes, absolutely. So whilst we do offer ServiceNow, which is of course known for ticketing and the wonderful world of ITIL, ITSM, and CSM, we typically pair that with a portal. We can do the portal independently, right? And we have a number of customers that we do that today with. And so, yeah, in particular, that 3-month timeline that Simon's just mentioned, that's for the full thing, right? That's for ticketing and portal and many other things seem to be included. And portals can often be much quicker. And so, yes, offering the portal as a service only is something that really excites us and is harnessing the power of ServiceNow to deliver effectively. All right, now I've got one eye on the time and I notice we are 1 minute to go. So I want to be respectful of everyone's time. So first and foremost, thank you for attending. Thank you for listening and watching. I hope it's been valuable to you. We'd love to continue the conversation, right? If you'd like your own demonstration where we can get into more of the weeds and more in depth into some of the portal features and have more of an interactive type session. If you're also interested in the full ServiceNow ITSM stack, we can show you that as well. So please feel free to reach out in your favorite medium to us, and we'd be happy to set up a deeper dive session. All right, so it's thank you and goodbye from me.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, everyone.